Hey everyone, thanks for joining me. My name's Pete. This is Rugged Outdoors Guide, and today we're talking about a topic that is so very basic, and it is simply the difference between sit-on-top kayaks and sit-in kayaks. So it really is just an introductory for those of you who may not be sure of the difference, and it's going to be a short video because there's not a lot to tell in something this simple, at least the way I'm going to present it. So what I've got behind me here is three different kayaks. One of them, the big yellow one, is an expedition kayak, and then I've got basically a recreational kayak. This is a two-person recreational kayak, kind of the kind that you would have just, kicking around at the end of your dock at the cottage, which is exactly what's happening here. And then over here, the red one, I have a fishing kayak. And all three of them obviously have a different purpose, but two of them, the expedition kayak and the recreational kayak, are what we would call sit-in kayaks. And a sit-in kayak is basically a kayak in which the sides of the kayak, the hull kind of comes up around you when you're sitting. It comes higher than your butt, really. So really, in both of those kayaks, your butt is sitting on the bottom of the kayak, and then you've got walls that come up, and you sit in basically a hole. Right? Some of the holes are really big, like the recreation kayak, and the expedition kayak just has a hole or a cockpit just big enough for you to put your body in. They, of course, are very different from one another, and I'm not going to get into too much of the differences other than to say that the expedition kayak is really good for big waves on the ocean, but it's also very tippy. That might seem kind of antithetical, but the reality is that if you know how to handle one of these expedition kayaks, you're going to be way better off in the ocean. You just kind of ride on top of the waves, or you can slash through them because it's covered everywhere, and so water's not going to get into your kayak, especially if you have a skirt around the cockpit. So it's made for bigger waters, and it's made for expeditions. That's the type of canoe, by the way, that you would use, the type of kayak you would use if you were going on a trip, like a camping trip with a kayak. It's not a lot of storage, but there is enough room, and it's very efficient. So that means that for every unit of energy you put into paddling the expedition kayak, you will go farther and faster, right? So you don't want to take a recreational kayak on a camping trip, like portaging it and going for dozens of miles. You will be miserable. So that's not what it's meant for. So that's what a recreational kayak is, just that. It's meant to just leave it at the dock, at the cottage, or day trips down to the lake or something like that, and just kind of having fun, or maybe some light fishing. And then, of course, the fishing kayak, it's a whole different animal. It's only meant really for fishing or light recreation as well. You can kind of tour a lake, for example, in an afternoon, that kind of thing. This particular model has a pedal drive, but that's not even the point. The point is that the seat is sitting quite a bit higher, and there are no walls that cover your hips, right? So that's called a sit-on-top kayak. And in fact, if you were to purchase a stand-up paddleboard, there are no walls on a paddleboard, right? You know that. It's only a couple inches thick. That's it. You stand, it looks like a surfboard. Well, you can buy a seat for a stand-up paddleboard, and it will now resemble a sit-on kayak, right? So that's really the big difference, is you've got these two different styles of sit-in kayaks. I mentioned the recreational and the expedition. And then this is one particular model or style of a sit-on kayak, the fishing one, where your seat is at the level of the top of the boat. It's not on the bottom of the hull like the other two are. All right, so really they serve different purposes. They're all stable in a way. The expedition is the least stable. You don't want to stand up in it. You really can't safely. But you definitely can stand up in the sit-on kayak, the fishing kayak, because it's meant for that. But of course, they all have their advantages and disadvantages, and I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to tell you some of the basic differences of the sit-on and the sit-in kayak. So guys, I hope that's been helpful, at least as an introductory. And of course, there are lots of other differences, but they're more subtle, and this is kind of the main idea of you know, the main difference is what I just explained to you, and that might help you if you're looking to purchase one of them. If you want to do some fishing, I would strongly suggest not using an expedition kayak. You could use a recreational kayak. It's not perfect, but it's okay. As far as if you want to do any trips, like a traditional canoe trip, well, then you definitely want an expedition kayak. You don't want to use the fishing kayak or the recreational kayak for a fishing trip. It's just not going to work very well. For portaging, you know, the weight and the awkwardness and clumsiness of it. So anyways, I said I wasn't going to get into any other differences, so I'll leave it at that. Thank you guys for watching. If you do like videos like this that do give you some bits of information and knowledge for your outdoor knowledge growth, please do give me a like and a subscribe and hit the notification bell, because then you will know the next time I come out with a video. And until I do, guys, get out there, enjoy God's awesome creation, and keep on looking up.